Wow, those are some tough acts to follow. Thank you for all that. I'm Tom Woodward, Ken's second son. Good afternoon, thank you all for coming. I'd like to share some memories of Dad that were shared with me over the past few weeks, and I'll close with some memories of my own, and my brother Steve will have some of his memories to share. I hope I can get through this. First, a memory from my son Brian. I remember golfing at Red Cedar Golf Course, usually me, Dad, and Papa. The many Spartan games, both live and gatherings at their house to watch. I can remember going to an MSU basketball game back at Jennison Fieldhouse, just Papa and I when I was very young. It was a fundraiser, Brian recalls, a night we got in for free if we bought a canned food item. I remember Papa's regular greeting whenever I saw him. "Hello, grandson," followed by a hug. Brian recalls talking life and sports. Papa always showed an interest in what he was doing, how school or work was going. Brian continues, "I thought of Papa as a very honorable man and a true role model, kind-hearted and caring to me and anyone I ever brought around. In all the years, I've never remembered him to be judgmental or negative about anything I did. He was always very supportive, and most of all, just being there. He loved his grandchildren, and now his great-grandchildren, and it showed by his and Grandma's constant involvement in our lives." And Brian ends with, "I am truly grateful to have had the years I did with him, and I hope that I too can live such a long and full life as he did." And from my daughter Andrea, who just spoke, she had shared, "I remember Christmas Eve coin sets and the special, see if I can say this right, Sacagawea coins that he gave at many events. Watching Tiger games, playing rummy and dominoes. When I was in school, he always asked what classes I was taking and showed interest in my studies." Andrea's husband Mark recalls the first time he met Papa playing chess and beating Papa at chess, but he loved games. Now some other short memories from niece Deborah Hendon. "Uncle Ken was always so interested in each one of us and what was going on in our lives." From sister-in-law Linda Hayden recalls the videos still treasured, Christmas Eve gatherings, giving him piano lessons, and his always kind interest in our lives. I'm starting to hear a theme throughout a lot of these comments. From nephew Joel Inch, "When I married Debbie 38 years ago, I was overwhelmed by the sheer number of relatives on her dad's side of the family. I came from such a small family. I remember my first trip to Lansing and meeting my Uncle Ken. He made me feel so welcomed and a part of the family and important. I immediately felt at home because of him and almost wanted to be a Spartan. Almost." From niece Debbie Inch, "We will always remember his conversations with us and his interest in our lives. He was a special man." From niece Nancy Huber, "We loved our 6 Ann Arbor grad years and sharing Sundays with Uncle Ken and family. He always made us feel so welcome and at home. Growing up, he was always behind a movie camera. Sounds like me," Nancy recalls. "I can't imagine the size of that video collection." And she's right. Memory from his nephew, Greg Buttrell. "My sweet memory of Uncle Ken was when I came to spend the night at their house in the late 60s. I was bedded down for the night on a couch with a blanket and a pillow when Ken and Martha decided it was time to dance before they retired for the evening. Out came the vinyl records. The needle rested on the grooves of the recording. The music was a waltz. I remember being shocked and embarrassed by being there as they floated around the room. The room was small, but it didn't matter. Their eyes were fixed on one another. Footsteps gracefully followed each other. The ordinary room of a well-used small house had become the ballroom of a castle before my eyes. Excuse me. Thanks, Uncle Ken and Aunt Martha, for living out your love for one another before your nephew. Heaven is a wonderful place. Your legs will again be strong and you'll be able to dance. Greg also remembers Ken's Prince Albert pipe tobacco, his Super 8 movies, saying, "Hey, do you want to play catch?" as he hands you an old worn leather mitt. He loved to play catch. And he remembers the whole Woodward family sitting close together in the station wagon as this man talked and shared a humor all his own. And in closing, I'll share a few of my own memories. I remember holding his hand as we walked to the Quality Dairy store to buy milk. Visiting his science classroom at Otto Junior High, I thought my dad had the coolest job. Dad was also an assistant Boy Scout leader, and I recall frequent visits from other scouts coming to our house to earn their government merit badge. I also recall going to the store with Dad to purchase all the food and supplies needed for the Boy Scout campouts. I remember Sunday mornings polishing shoes, and that came as a memory even this morning as I was polishing my shoes to come today. I remember driving with Dad to fill up the driver's ed cars with gas. He was a driver's ed teacher, and the cars had a special teacher brake, and he would let us apply the brake as he pulled the cars into braking. We all learned to drive quite young, I think, didn't we? I remember my first hunting experience was with my dad. I remember learning to bowl at West Lawn Lanes, and later in a mixed doubles league at Washington Recreation, where my dad was a sub for a mixed doubles league that Sabrina and I and my mother-in-law Sylvia bowled on. Dad loved being a part of the church choir. He talked about it often, and he would often tell my brothers and I that we really needed to join a church choir. Dad would frequently request that I offer up a prayer and then tell me afterwards how well the prayer was that I delivered. And my last memory of my dad was the night before the last memory with Dad was when I recited the Lord's Prayer together the night before he died. Love you, Dad. See you later. So now my brother Steve would like to share.
Thank you, Tom. I'll just add a few extra things. I think the choir thing about having all three sons was incorrect. I was not a good voice, so they kept me out of the choir. I could play the drums, but not sing in the choir, and everyone's a tribute to that. And my family, they're all nodding their heads, yes. Also, to add to the driver's training and teaching, Dad did a lot of the driver's training in summer, and just a few years ago, there's a coworker of mine, and she was cleaning out her house to move, and she came across her driver's training permit card signed by Ken Woodward. And so she was like 62 years old when this happened 3 years ago, so I thought that was a really neat memory. In fact, talking about memories with Dad, we would often, when we'd run errands with Dad, with the kids running around, he would stop and he would see people all the time, and people he knew. Many times they were former students, and he would constantly talk about them, their lives. He would remember them. And it was just a neat tribute to Dad that he could remember so many people. Recently in hospice care, there's some friends that stopped to see Dad, and he remembered each one of them and their fathers. Each one of their fathers had passed away already, and he talked with them sincerely about their dads. That was a really, really touching time. A couple things, I'll just look at my list here. Memories, playing catch. Playing catch, Dad loved sports. He loved to play catch, baseball or football, in front of our house on Genesee Street. I see faces out there today that he played catch with. Dan Jackson, Alex Hernandez, Ricky Fisher, I don't see today, but they would always come to the house, and if they weren't able to play catch, my dad would play catch with them if someone wasn't able to play with them. I remember family camping at Townland Lake, going to the Upper Peninsula. We even took our pop-up camper, a real stripped-down pop-up camper, took the whole family out the East Coast and did some New England tour. Family was very important to Dad, and we had many, many gatherings. Many gatherings at the Buttrell family. Diane Buttrell, Dad's sister, over in Port Huron. One real memorable trip with the family was a trip to California. Mom and Dad loaded all 4 kids up in the family station wagon. We traveled across the country, of all the states, and visited many different places. One, visiting his brother Art and Jan in Colorado. We went to the Hoover Dam. There was a place that was called the Four Corners Monument. You had to stop at every place we could. And this is where my brother Ken was in all 4 states at one time, sprawled out with arms and legs, and those little things to remember. I think those states are Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah. I remember we went to San Jose, San Diego. What took us out to California was Dad was taking additional college classes out in San Jose State. Was it to work toward his master's degree or just extra school credits? And so we rented a house out there for 6-8 weeks, something like that, and we did a lot of trips and a lot of travels out there in California. One of the other memorable trips of that time, or a day trip, was we went to Tijuana, Mexico. That's a story in all itself. It's very. Some other thoughts. Seems that every time we would go to, we already talked about that one, sorry. Grandkids. Dad and Mom always active with the grandkids' lives. They would participate and go to events, baseball games, football games, dance recitals, hockey games, church programs, volleyball games, school concerts from elementary, junior high, high school, and college. They would be at every single one that they could. Dad also enjoyed, which was mentioned already, about playing chess and cribbage. And I believe he taught every one of the grandkids how to play chess. Attending MSU games, Dad loved to go to the MSU stadium, and he never complained when they lost, which they lost a few times. It was also mentioned by Andrew about the review call, and we don't need to mention that again, but he did not like the review call in sports. Fast forward to today. While he was in hospice, he would remind us, have you found my folder? Have you seen my folder? He'd tell Chelsea and the kids. He had a folder that he put together. He actually was working on this folder for a couple of years. And in this folder was his preparation for today. Requests of what songs to sing, what verses to be read, and you've been hearing them today. And also, as it was mentioned, I think, John, that he wrote it in his folder to read slowly so everyone could understand, which I'm sure I'm not doing a very good job of. Dad kept his humor in spite of his condition, and one of his final wishes he wrote in this folder, I quote, that his body was to be cremated immediately after death, but not a second sooner. Rest in peace, Dad.